In this video, I'll be talking about natal sun in Gemini and what this placement means for you or somebody else when it is in the birth chart. And with that being said, what the sun represents is it represents our constant way of acting and how we choose to present ourselves and how we want to be seen in the world. So in this case, it is in the sign Gemini, which rules the mind. It rules communication, ideas, and internal dialogue as well as external dialogue. And so when the sun is in Gemini, this shows somebody whose actions are motivated by thought or curiosity or ideas. And their way of acting can be more scattered or more fickle because it is just in alignment to a certain train of thought or to a certain idea. Gemini is also about movement and short distance travel. So they are passionate. People with the sun in Gemini are passionate about movement, about opportunities, and about possibilities. And in terms of their character traits, they can be curious individuals, and they also they are intelligent. They are friendly for the most part, and they're motivated by ideas and by progress and by freedom, because Gemini is the sign of movement. And so with the sun in Gemini, it shows somebody that is more intellectually scattered, and their actions are motivated by possibilities or opportunities rather than a fixed constant source like emotions or like integrity or values or things like that. And ultimately, this can lead them to have a more superficial ego or way of acting, because Gemini is a very surface level sign. I was just talking about Moon and Scorpio placements before I was making this series, and Gemini is like the complete opposite of that sign, which is like very deep, very psychologically complex. And then Gemini, on the other hand, is very superficial, and it's all about like things that could matter rather than things that necessarily do come from a meaningful place. So in terms of their approach to life, Geminis have a very experimental approach to life that's almost like a train of thought. So it's always ending or changing, and they have trouble sticking to a particular idea or to a train of thought. So sometimes, that can lead them to skip over, a meaningful opportunity. But they care a lot about their freedom, so they will sometimes just really switch what they're focused on. Now, in terms of the sun being in Gemini, the sun shows our ego, and when it's in Gemini, which is a mutable air sign, mutable is about change and adaptability, and air is about communication, and it's also about change and adaptability, and it's about opportunities and connection. The sun being here shows that their ego is more diffuse and it's more circumstantial, especially based on relating to others. Because the fifth house from Gemini is Libra. The fifth house shows what motivates one's ego. And so their ego is having to do with how they relate to others. And their ego is less solid. Like sun in Gemini, people may have trouble asserting a certain point, but their ego is more so revolving around defending reasoning rather than doing that, than asserting a specific point. So let me rephrase that, because the way I said it was kind of confusing. They may have trouble asserting a point or an opinion themselves, but they have no problem defending reasoning or defending logic. So what they don't like is when, somebody says something that doesn't make sense or that clashes with a meaningful or valid possibility. So also, they're very defensive of humanitarian principles as well, because when the sun is in Gemini, it's in the 11th sign from its own sign, which is Leo. The 11th house is all about the collective, and it's an air house as well. It's having to do with our connection to intellectual principles or to reasoning. It has to do with our responsibility towards, being reasonable, because it's the house of logic. So what the sun in Gemini shows is somebody that defends logic very well, but they're more fickle in terms of their own, opinions. So with that being said, sun in Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury can be a jokester, a trickster, or a troll. So a lot of times their actions could be, motivated by curiosity and by seeing what the reaction is going to be. So these people are like real jokesters, and they like to just do things sometimes just to see what the outcome could be or what the reaction is going to be. And a lot of times, like I was saying, this comes in the form of a joke or of a prank or something, funny of that nature. They're also good flirts because, Gemini is about communication, curiosity, and of course, seeing the reaction of people or seeing how things will turn out. And, to summarize Sun in Gemini, it shows somebody that really lives in the realm of possibility, and they can either be really chatty or communicative, or they will have, a very active inner dialogue that's constantly reacting to circumstances in their mind or making sense of things. And, I feel like all Geminis actually have that inner dialogue, but some of them are also very outwardly communicative. And they communicate like these very superficial ideas that come to mind. They express themselves very easily and very prematurely, even at times. Like they'll just express something that immediately came to their mind, but it would not have much, personal or, meaningful significance in a more general sense. Like it's just them expressing like their immediate reaction to things or their mind. That's why they're so communicative, because Gemini is just about ideas and like our immediate reactions or adaptation to circumstances. So anyway, with that being said, the sun also shows how we come across to others and how we shine in the world. So when you have the sun in Gemini, you come across to others as communicative, clever, interactive, and friendly. And at times, though, also you come across as opinionated. And finally, you come across sometimes as fickle or quote unquote two-faced. And, Geminis may disagree with that, or some may feel like that's not a true assessment. But the reason I say this is because Sun in Gemini shows somebody whose actions are superficially motivated, because Gemini is the most superficial sign. And superficial does not mean fake. It just means it is motivated from just possibilities or your mind, or like just ideas or like curiosity. It's not motivated from something else that is more stable or that's more fickle. Not fickle, that's more meaningful. So like also Gemini is very scattered. So like your actions can, be changing, or like the way that you present yourself or express yourself especially changes depending on the social circumstances that you're in. So with that being said, for one, the reason why your actions could be seen as fickle or two-faced by others is that they may lack a stable point, because Gemini is all about logic, and the sun in Gemini is all about reasoning and intelligence, and it's all about pursuing possibilities and opportunities and ideas. But the thing is that logic is just that. It's just logic. It is not necessarily a meaningful point. So like logic only just adapts to the topic that we choose to talk about, or to the point that we try to defend. So like, for example, like if we change the variables that we're using in an experiment, then that's going to change the whole reasoning of the experiment. So the point is, Gemini sun shows somebody, that is more focused on the reasoning and the logic, but sometimes they're not, they don't have like a set of values or like a set of points that they're really trying to prove, So that's kind of how your actions are, in a sense. Like, they're more adaptable and they're more focused on the logic part of things, but not really like a stable objective or a point. So you're just really adapting or reacting, to others, or your actions are changing based on, social circumstances or conversational factors, just based off changing the factors of a conversation. Like, a Gemini will just adapt to that, and they would defend the reasoning of that instead of, asserting their own values or their own points, because they have trouble asserting sometimes a strong sense of self, or like a strong moral, or like not a moral, but like a value that they have. Because anyways, they're just more superficial or adaptable in that sense, in the way of that they approach things. But the second thing about why your actions may come as fickle or two-faced by others is that they can lack like a meaningful directive. So sometimes your actions are just motivated by curiosity or possibilities, or this train of thought that you may have, or like your actions are like a train of thought, like they just go until you reach a dead end. So and the reason why is because Gemini is a mutable sign. Mutable is about change, adaptability, and creativity. It's not so much about direction or about stability. So in terms of your actions, they may not have a direction. They just may be a reaction or an adaptation or a train of thought, just a possibility. So since, they lack direction, your actions lack direction, or your expression can lack like a meaningful motivation or goal. Others may often mistake your actions as having more significance or coming from a deeper place than they actually did. And regardless of what type of sun in Gemini you are, that is something that you're going to experience or that you can relate to. So once again, let me repeat that. Others mistake your actions as having more significance or coming from a deeper place than they did. So, for example, you could have been making a joke, or you could have been acting out of curiosity to see how people will react. And certain people might take what you said or what you did seriously. And so you might think that they are hard asses, or like that they come across as, not having a sense of humor. But on the other hand, that's just coming from the fact that they mistake your actions as having more significance. Because, for example, that could have been like a sun sign in Cancer, or an ascendant in Taurus, or it could have been some other sign where, for example, with the sun in Cancer, that could have been somebody whose actions are always motivated by their emotions and how they feel. And then the other person that might have taken your actions more seriously than they were at some other point in your life could have been a Taurus ascendant. So somebody that's always acting from a practical standpoint, or like from a desire to maintain like integrity to certain values, and somebody that tries to come across as dependable or relatable, not relatable, but reliable. So, based on people's differences from you, they might feel like your actions were more deeply meaningful than they actually were, because your actions are indicated by the sign Gemini, which means they're motivated by just ideas, opinions, or curiosity, or opportunities. How I would really summarize sun in Gemini is it shows somebody whose actions are circumstantial. They are based on the immediate circumstances, as well as their ego or their presentation, because that's what the sun is about. So their ego and presentation is also presented based on circumstances, especially social circumstance, or financial circumstance, or logistical circumstance. And so this makes them highly adaptable, intelligent, and great opportunists, great communicators, great salesmen, and woman, very relatable, but at times they have trouble asserting a consistent sense of self. They have trouble creating their own stable circumstance of who they are, or what they are focused on, because they just like to adapt or change or be free. So with that being said, that basically summarizes what I wanted to talk about for Sun and Gemini. Next, we're going to be talking about what the Sun and Gemini means through each of the houses. So definitely subscribe and stay tuned for that. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more content. And for natal chart readings, the link is in my description if you'd like me to make a personalized video breaking down each of your placements and your destiny and your life path based on your North Node. And also the obstacles or challenges that you face, as well as your talents and opportunities. Then, check the link in the description to my Patreon, where I do a free natal chart reading for my Jupiter tier patrons. And I have a 50% discount off natal chart readings for my lower tier, which is the Moon tier. And then finally, I have an email in my description if you'd like to contact me that way and book a reading, or if you have any other inquiries. With that being said, I appreciate you guys watching and supporting in any way that you do. And I will talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace.